It's a god-awful small affair.
Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be reviewing this album. It is David Bowie's album Hunky Dory, which was released 45 years ago today. So what I'm going to do in this video is give a bit of background information about the album. I will show you my vinyl copy of it here, and then I will go over each of the tracks in detail. So yeah, this was his fourth studio album, released, as I said, 45 years ago today, on the 17th of December in 1971. It was recorded throughout the summer of that year with producer Ken Scott, who had previously been an engineer on various Beatles recordings and that stuff, like the White Album, and I think he was also involved with George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. So a very, very experienced guy working with David Bowie. Another thing to note as well with this album was that when he was recording it, he was actually without a record contract. I think that after the last album, which was called The Man Who Sold the World, either his contract had expired or he was dropped by his label. I'm not too sure myself. But basically, he was without a contract when he recorded this album. It was only when RCA Records heard the tapes in September that they decided to sign David Bowie. The band lineup on this album would consist of players who would go on to form David Bowie's backing band throughout the 70s, and would also feature in the Spiders from Mars band, what he went along with his next album, Ziggy Stardust. Although the album wasn't an instant hit commercially, when it was released at the end of 1971, I think it failed to chart pretty much everywhere. However, it did get unanimous critical acclaim. It was only after the success of the follow-up Ziggy Stardust that this album would peak at number 3 in the UK charts and stay there for 69 weeks. So, and I was going to show you my vinyl copy of it here. This is a reissue. I think the originals of this are quite hard to find copies of, but I have just got the reissue. It came out, I think, earlier this year, just after his sad passing. There's the back of it there, just the titles and various handwritten notes and that, which is quite nice, just we personalised notes and that about who plays what and that. Inside here, though, there isn't much to the packaging with this one. But you get a insert, which I think would have come with the original, just all of the lyrics, which is very nice just to follow the lyrics. And then it comes with 2 inner sleeves for some reason. This today, I assume, is just replicate what the original one came in, just a plain white one. But then they also put in a slightly more protective lined one here. And this is on sort of a replica of the RCA label, although I understand they can't put RCA on it because he's not with them anymore. So yeah, it just sort of says Bowie on the side, the side, which is a nice touch. And that's it there. So that's basically all there is to the vinyl. So I'm now going to go over each of the album songs. I will score each track out of 10, and then I will use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So we open up with the song Changes, which is a brilliant song, really, really great. Certainly one of Bowie's most famous songs, most well-known tracks. I really like the lyrics with this song. They sort of could allude to sort of Bowie's very much changing nature throughout his career. He's always developed his sound and his style throughout the years. He's never sort of stayed on the same thing throughout his career. And he's always been changing his image and that. So that's definitely what I think this song sort of is alluding to. Unbelievable that this was the first single from the album and flopped. I mean, this should have been a massive hit, I think, but it flopped on both the UK and US singles charts. However, as I said, it would go on to become one of Bowie's most famous songs, ranked at 128 on Rolling Stone magazine's 500 best songs list. So yeah, it's a fantastic song, great way to kick off the album. Next track is called Oh You Pretty Things, which I'm giving a 9 out of 10 to. Now this is another excellent song. It's got a really nice sort of contrast between the verses and the chorus musically, with the verse having a much sort of quieter piano based bass verse, but then the chorus comes in and just so great, so catchy, really fantastic, sort of really quirky lyrics as well. So I've read that they could allude to sort of the development of the human race and that. So very, very bold lyrics, very creative and slightly weird, wacky, out there lyrics, which is something what would be very, very characteristic of David Bowie throughout the years. And then the next track is called 8-Line Poem, which kind of like, it's sort of like a medley with like Oh You Pretty Things. It sort of like blend like into one. And this, it is alright. I mean, like, it's 5 out of 10 I could give it. It is a soft, slow little like number. Starts off with just like a like piano playing. Like, it's nice enough, but it really isn't like anything much. And like, it kind of like, I was tempted just to give this one like maybe sort of like half marks, like just to sort of like make it like matter like a little less in like my overall score. Not really take this one like into like account all that much, but it is quite long. Like, it's about 3 minutes and 20 seconds or something, and like it does kind of like put you to sleep a little bit. And like, yeah, like it isn't like the best thing like on like the album. Certainly like the weakest like actual song, like if you can call it that, on the album for me. However, it is followed by arguably one of the best songs of all time, and probably my personal favourite David Bowie song. It's Life on Mars, and yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful song. Very dramatic strings on it. They really add like a lot of depth like to the track, and like very poetic and like imagery laden like lyrics as well. Sort of like Bowie like composed like his lyrics using like his famous cut-up method, where he would basically like write like little phrases out on like pieces of cards, and then like sort of cut them all out and like stitch them together to make like lyrics. So yeah, a very creative, really like wacky way to like write lyrics, but it works so well on this track. And we've also got some brilliant like piano work on the song, played by Rick Wakeman from like the band Yes, and that, yeah, really adds a lot to the song. And like, yeah, this would become like one of like Bowie's most famous songs. It would, like, when it was issued as a single in like 1973, it would reach number 3 in like the UK singles chart. So yeah, fantastic song there, Life on Mars, easily a 10 out of 10.
With a couple of cooks hung up on romancing.
The next song on the album is called Cooks, which I am giving a 9 out of 10 to. Now, I really like this one as well. It's a little bit more fun, a little bit more sort of, there's a lot more like sort of breezy like acoustic guitars. We've sort of like moved like away from like the piano now. We've sort of got like more like acoustic guitars on this one, and like it's really good, really upbeat melody. Certainly more like pop orientated than most of this album. And like Bowie said that like he wrote this song like for like his son, like I think he's called Zowie Bowie, although like he would like later become like known as like Duncan Jones, famous film director. And that's, yeah, it's a really, really nice touching song. I know that some people think that this one is like a little bit lightweight, a little bit of filler, but I love this song. I think it's fantastic. And now, closing side 1, we have a song called Quicksand, which I also love. I'm giving it also a 9 out of 10. Really slow sort of like acoustic start, but then like the tension builds throughout this song, and like the guitar gets louder. Like, it's not so much that like instruments are added, it's just that it's just that the acoustic guitar just like increases like in volume as like the song like goes along. Supposedly like the producer Ken Scott was asked to like sort of like replicate like a sound what he got on like George Harrison's All Things Must Pass album. Very sort of big sound for like acoustic guitars, which really worked on this track, I have to say. Really great structure like as well, like where it gets like quite loud, then it goes quiet again, then it gets like a bit louder. Really sort of like ebb and flow nature off like the song. And like to top it all off, we get a beautiful string arrangement on it, like composed by like the guitarist, I believe, Mick Ronson. Like he adds like the string arrangement, which just really works. Really, it is like the cherry on the cake with this song. Yeah, fantastic. And like probably I would say like the most well produced song like on the album would be Quicksand. So yeah, Quicksand is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Gentleness clears the soul, love cleans the mind.
But now we move on to side 2, which opens up with a song called Fill Your Heart, which I'm giving a 7 out of 10 to. Now this is a cover song actually. Like, I'm not too sure like who sang like the original one, but like it was written by like 2 guys called Biff Rose and Paul Williams, and it is kind of like very sort of light-hearted, almost sort of like vaudeville like type song. Interesting detour like for the album, like like compared with like the very sort of serious songs we get on like the first side, like for the most part. This one here just seems like a little bit lightweight, a little bit sort of fun and that, and like yeah, like it's maybe a little bit filler on the album for me personally. Certainly not my favourite track is Fill Your Heart.
producer scream, hang him on my wall.
The next track on the album is called Andy Warhol, which I'm giving a 6 out of 10 to. Now, yeah, this isn't my favourite track on the album, like has to be said, although like, it does start off like quite funny though. It starts off with like Bowie sort of telling like the producer Ken Scott like how to say like Andy Warhol's name right, and that's quite fun to listen to sort of like for about 30 seconds or so. And then the song kicks in, like it's like a more sort of like folky, more like acoustic based song, and like, I think it is just like David Bowie like himself doing this song like completely solo. I think anyway. Like I don't think that I don't think that like there are like any other instruments like on this track. But personally, where I think the song is let down, like it's through like the lyrics, which like as like the title suggests, like is like a tribute to like the artist like Andy Warhol, one of Bowie's like greatest influences. However, I just don't think much of them. Like I think that like the chorus especially like is like rather weak and like a little bit lazy like lyrically. So Andy Warhol, look at strange, hang him on my wall, and doesn't really make much sense. And like yeah, like it's a little bit like annoying like after like a while personally, but like it is like nice of him to pay tribute like to some of his heroes. But for me, this song isn't anything much. And then we get another song that is what is like another tribute like to one of like his heroes, which is sort of like a thread that runs through like the second side of this album, like sort of like songs like inspired by like people who like inspired David Bowie and that, which I think like is like pretty good. This one here is called Song for Bob Dylan, which I like a little bit more than like Andy Warhol, giving it a 7 out of 10. It's sort of written and like delivered in like a very sort of similar style like to Bob Dylan. Like it has some like great guitar playing in it, but actually reminds me a little bit of like George Harrison's sort of like guitar style from like the mid-70s and that, considering that this came like a couple of like years before then. Like it is like pretty good, like really nice solid playing from Mick Ronson on this track. But again, it isn't among my favourite tracks like on the album, a little bit like underwhelming for me. And now the penultimate song is called Queen Bitch, which I am giving a 8 out of 10 to. Now, I really like this one. This one starts off with a really powerful guitar riff, like really like we're turning up like the volume like to like 11 with this track. Mick Ronson delivers it superbly. This is like a red like a tribute to sort of like Lou Reed, like again continuing like this thread like through like the second side. And like yeah, it's definitely the album's most rocking moment, and like very similar like in style to like the stuff like he do on like the follow-up album Ziggy Stardust, very sort of hard rock, big riffs, like that sort of thing. Yeah, this song works like really well for me. And now the closing to the album is called The Boulay Brothers, which I'm giving a 7 out of 10 to. Now, another change of mood for the album, quite a quiet like acoustic number, but it does slowly develop as like more instruments like are introduced like to the mix. Lyrics are sort of very muddled up, and like there are very many different like interpretations like as to like what they are like about, very sort of abstract lyrics again with this track. For me personally, it goes on a little bit, this track. Like I think it's about like sort of 5-6 minutes long, kind of drags on like a little bit, and like there's a bit in like the middle where it's sort of like he goes like all sort of cockney like sort of like speak on like the middle eight. That doesn't do too much for me, doesn't add too much to the song, but I still think it is an okay track, although just not quite as good as some of like the classics we get on like the first side. So overall, I am giving this album a score of 79%. So I'll just start with like the things that I really like about this album. And firstly, like the production, I think works really well. Like it is like quite rough and raw, like vocally sounded. Like David's vocals, like they're maybe not like the most polished, but it certainly gives this album like a lot of character, and like it's still like very much like a pleasure like to listen to. There's also like a lot of like piano-based songs like on this album, such as Changes, Oh You Pretty Things, 8-Line Poem, and like the Boulay Brothers I think has like a bit of like piano going in it like as well. So sort of like Rick Wakeman, like again, like he contributes a lot to this album's sound and style. I would say though it is very front-loaded album with like all of like the hit singles and like arguably the best songs sort of like consigned to side one, such as Changes, like Oh You Pretty Things, Life on Mars, Cooks and Quicksand, all really great songs like in like my opinion. But I have like read like some like interpretations of this album that like the first side is like sort of just like the songs that like he's wanting like to present, like his sort of best songs like from this time, and like the second side is sort of like what inspired those songs. So sort of like tributes like to like his heroes. Like again, we get a cover song, we get like an Andy Warhol tribute, a Bob Dylan tribute, like a Lou Reed tribute. So that sort of thing, like it like if like you look at it that way, like it makes like the second side like a little bit more like enjoyable when like you consider that he is like paying tribute to some of like his heroes. But it is still very front-loaded, this album though, with like the better songs consigned to the start, and like what kind of makes like the second side a little bit of like a letdown compared with like the absolute brilliance and genius of the first side. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this review. Like I would like to know what you think of this album down below in like the comments, and like also like any other recommendations for like other David Bowie albums, because I have only got two. Like I've been meaning to get like a couple more like of his albums. Like I've only got this one and like Ziggy Stardust. So if like there's any other like so like if like there's any other like David Bowie albums, what you think that I would really enjoy. Like I've heard people like some people like a wee while back like recommended the album Low to me, which I could try and like pick up like sometime soon. Like not sure like if it's been like reissued though. And like yeah, like I know that he has like released like a ton of albums, but like it's really just a case of like trying to find like what like suits like my tastes like the most, and that because he has been very eclectic like throughout like the years and that. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this review. As always, I like would like to know what you think of this album down below, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.